The Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors: EliteForm.com, IgnitionAPG.com, PlayUSA at PLAEUSA.com, and Sorinex Exercise Equipment at Sorinex.com. And now, the Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast. Welcome to Iron Game Chalk Talk with your host, Ron McKeefery.
Every time our athletes walk into this weight room, they're going to be pushed to the max.
Let's go! Everything you got!
On this podcast, hear Coach McKeefery straight talk about training, featuring the top strength and conditioning professionals from around the world. And now, here's your host, Ron McKeefery.
Hey guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Ron McKeefery, and this is episode number 108. Iron Game Chalk Talk is a weekly podcast where I bring you experts in the field of talk shop. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube, or join the mailing list at ronmckeefery.com to stay up to date with the latest guests and anything else that I have going on. This week, excited to have Jay DeMayo with us. Jay is the head strength coach for men's and women's basketball at Richmond University. He's also the creator of the Central Virginia Sports Performance Seminar, and just a great guy that's putting out great content, doing a lot of things in the community right now, and his seminar is one of the best that's out there, and so I'd highly recommend you guys attend that. But we get into a lot of great stuff. We actually shot this episode twice. Jay and I we talked, and it was a good episode. He went to a conference, felt like we could have done the episode a little bit better. Wanted to make sure that we just didn't get into the fluff questions. Really wanted to dive deep into training and kind of what makes this great, and gets back to the roots of, the meat and potatoes of really, what coaches do in a chalk talk session. And so I thought it was fantastic. We shot the episode again. There's a ton of great nuggets in this episode, and so I know you're going to get a ton out of it. Before we get started, though, we want to make sure we recognize all of our sponsors. We have IgnitionAPG.com, EliteForm.com, PlayUSA.com, and of course Sorinex.com. And I think this is the first episode that I've shot since having gone to Summer Strong. But if you have not attended that event, it is a must experience, and that's the only way to describe it. It's not a clinic, it's not a camp, it's not an exhibition. It's an experience. Tons of great people running around, Olympians, elite powerlifters, strongmen. You're rubbing elbows with college strength coaches, pro strength coaches. You're rubbing elbows with some of the best in the world at what they do, and you're doing it for a whole weekend. And what a fantastic thing that Sorinex has done. They moved the event to make it a little bit more easy for college and pro strength coaches to attend. So if you have not done it, this year was my first year, but I can tell you 100% that is well worth it. It is a fantastic deal. And so please support Sorinex. Go to their Facebook page, Twitter page. Let them know how much you appreciate them being involved with Iron Game Chalk Talk and all that they're doing in the community right now. And I just can't say enough about Bert and the gang there. So reach out to them and support them and let them know how much you appreciate it. Want to get to this episode. I know you're going to get a ton out of it. Sit back and enjoy, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. Got a treat for you today. Good buddy Jay DeMayo at Richmond, and this is actually the second time we've shot this episode, because my man went to a conference and he is ready. He's on fire about the profession, and we got to this is a testament to the way Jay is. Jay is a guy that is going to be, he's going to get it right. And this isn't going to be just your typical podcast where it's just kind of softball questions. We're going to get into some hard stuff here and expose ourselves a little bit, both of us, and have a real conversation. And that's what, he just couldn't sleep at night, not knowing that, we didn't do the very best, had the very best, most real conversation we could possibly have. And I love that. And so, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate the how you do your business, and I'm excited, man.
Yeah, well, thanks again for putting up with me here, man.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Well, let's really quick, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. But give me your journey. Why you got into strength and conditioning, kind of the places that you've done it at.
Well, soccer career at SUNY-Cortland ended before it should have. So I got into training athletes with an ATC CSC at the time named Farron Bennett. I worked with the ice hockey, softball, and baseball teams there. Ended up going to SUNY Binghamton and interned under Brian McGovern. And then was lucky to get a GA at Indiana State under Kip Hittrick. Kip left December of 2001. We had a semester left. Wasn't sure I was going to have a job still. And was lucky that Gov called me up and was like, Darren Thomas at Richmond is looking for somebody. And I've been here ever since January 2002.
Awesome, and I had great success and doing lots of great things for the profession. But I don't want to waste any time. I want to jump right in to some of these questions, and I think. Are you still there?
Yep, I'm still here. Sorry.
That's all right. It's cutting out on me. The first thing I want to talk a little bit about is we go to all these conferences sometimes, and we sit in these chairs, and there's fantastic speakers everywhere, and it's hard to get a real accurate representation of them, their training style, the way that they go about their business. And it's almost as if we're a little too timid to talk about actual training sometimes, and you mentioned off camera a little bit about, the old freaking Russian journals being translated, and that's all it was coaches being real with each other and talking about training, and 5 reps work for me, 6 reps work for you, what's the right one, and debating it. Talk a little bit about where we're at as a profession right now and just our approach to really just getting back to our roots a little bit.
Yeah, man, I do. I think that there's, taking a step back, I think that you have to be very, very brave to say, these are the results that I actually got from what we did. Because you're putting yourself out there and you're allowing other people to dissect you. With that being said, who cares? If you're doing something similar to me and you're getting better results than I am, well, why wouldn't I want to know that? Why would I want to let your guys get better than my guys? That doesn't make any sense. So with that, putting those things out there, I think it does have kind of a sense of bravery that needs to be there. Now, coming back to what you asked, I think that there is a kind of a multiple personality disorder when it comes to the profession right now. I do think that there's a lot of people right now who may or may not be kind of timid when it comes to training, for whatever reason it may be. I think that we do wear too many hats, and we're a profession right now that we're starting to get a little bit of that realness. You have to be certified now. A certified person has to be working with athletes. And we've all talked about how that's something that needs to happen. But there's also people that are certified and have doctorates in physical therapy, but strength coaches want to be PTs. And the strength coaches want to be overly involved in the rehab process. And they don't understand why we're being asked to do more work and more work and more work and not being paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because we're just sitting out there and doing it.
Right.
And it's kind of crazy like that. When you take a step back and you look at it and you're like, well, we do all this great rehab and prehab and all these things in our workouts, but what are you doing to get your kids better? I understand that, you need to be able to participate in practice and games to get better at your sport. But even then, if all you're doing is making sure that a kid's ankle dorsiflexion gets better and he still sucks at his sport, who cares?
Right.
I'm never going to be good at basketball because I'm short, fat, and slow. But if I got taller, faster, and a little more skinny, maybe I'd be better at a sport. This wasn't my playing weight in soccer, that's for sure. I think that we've just sort of run away from what we were, For what, the Vern Gambettas and the Oliver Meals and the Boyd Epleys, what they thought that we were supposed to be doing.
Sure. So, kind of saying that then, because we've talked about this a little bit. What would, if you went to a conference or you went to a clinic or you were meeting with a coach, what's the perfect conversation? What should our young strength coaches be asking when they go visit DeMayo Richmond, what should they go in there asking, and what should they walk out with?
So if they were to come here, they'd probably ask a lot. They'd probably ask, "What the hell are you doing?" Because they'd see a lot of single set stuff, and they'd probably
with basketball players also.
Yeah, they'd probably wonder why these kids were so broke off just doing one set of 20. I'd probably make the kid do a set of 20 squats and be like, "See," but you should probably want to know where it came from. First of all, you should probably want to ask them, who do they think is smarter than them, and who do they learn from? Because if you're not willing to find out who the people who you think are smarter than them, then how are you going to continue your learning? When people come in here and they see us doing doc specialized exercises and Natalia's jumps and the 1x20 and things with the gym aware, or lying these kids down and running an omega wave and figuring out why there's 5 different conditioning workouts going on for 9 different guys. It's not because Jay pulled a deck of cards and, Johnny got the ace of spades and Jill got the queen of clubs. So Johnny's going to do the battling ropes and Jill's going to versa climb.
Right.
It's maybe this kid was up all night and his resting heart rate's too high, and if we push him, he's going to suck for the week of practice. Or maybe this kid's ready to go, so we can go do some, max heart rate work out on the track. We're telling him he's running like the cops are chasing him with a dog. It's understanding what they're doing, how they get the kids better, how much better they get them, and then where these ideas.
So staying with that line of thinking, then let's talk about your own programming. And so what was the influence? I mean, you mentioned some names there. Where's the influence to? Because I think we would both agree that your basketball programming is maybe a little bit different than most. Where's that influence come from, and what kind of results have you seen with it?
Well, it all started with Joseph Johnson, who's the owner of Ultimate Athlete Concepts. He put me in touch with Dr. Yessis.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys basically just kept telling me, we would have conversations. And I thought that we got pretty good strength number results and things like that. And Joseph would basically hint at, well, does that really matter? And then he would ask, where does that lie in relation to the rest of people that do what you do? Well, and then he told me the results that they get. So I was kind of bullshit. You really put 3 inches on these kids' verticals in a year,
right?
By doing this stuff and following this. But it's true, and it happens. And it's not because of anything other than they train hard when they can train hard, And it's not like people look back and now we're talking about the whole optimal dose or minimal dose or low dose training, whatever, I don't know, whatever the cool way to say give them what they need, not what they can handle is now.
Right.
And we think that means we should have pink dumbbells and Bosu balls all over the place. But, if you're ready to go and I got a kid who squatted 300 pounds for a 20 and it looked good and he comes back the next day and he doesn't feel like garbage and he's ready to train, well, you know what? 305 today. Let's go.
Right.
Let's get better. You got to stress them a little more each time if they're able to handle it. But yeah, Joseph brought me to Doc and Natalia, and and really to Cal Dietz, and then Cal. Everybody knows Cal, so Cal brought me, to Landon, who brought me to Val,
right,
and Val brought me to Hank. So it's just kind of been running through that way. That to bring it all back, where it's a ridiculously challenging training program that, when done rightly, does not paralyze you. It stresses you enough to allow you to adapt and keep going and keep going and keep going.
Right. So one of the things that you do that's really cool is obviously you put on one of the best clinics in the country, and that was kind of born out of necessity to bring in these experts that you talk about, that you want to learn from, and so, all of a sudden you have Youssef, or you have Cal Dietz, or you have, Natalia, and you have them in your facility, I've been in that situation where you're hosting the clinic, you're freaking your head's spinning all over the place. How are you maximizing your time with these people, and then how are you really developing the kind of relationship where you can go and get programs and and try Italia's 1 to 20 program, whatever. How do you get into the meat and potatoes so quickly, so early in a relationship?
Well, I record everything. Because as you know, when you're putting that thing on, you don't remember the conversation you had 4 seconds ago.
That's right.
Let alone like Ben Peterson's talk a couple years back. Benny's coming back. His talk on aerobic training and how it works with repeat sprintability was one of the best things I've ever seen. But really, what we've been really lucky with is that these people, they care. And they care about what they do, and they care about where they've been, and kind of their legacy, I guess you could call it. Like Doc, with his whole biomechanics background and the specialized exercises that he built, and the 1x20 that is, I believe, was basically his dissertation.
Okay.
Natalia and her relationship with her father, and the Verkhoshansky name, and how things need to be looked at properly, and they really care. And when you really want to learn from them, and you express that interest, they're so willing to help. I mean, they're just like us.
Sure.
You have kids coming to you that want to do extra work, or that have extra questions, that want to be good. Like, people want to help people that want to be good, man.
Exactly.
And and we've been really lucky. I guess the only way to say it is we've been really lucky that there haven't been many assholes that have come in.
Sure.
But it's just been about, it's just about getting my check and I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned early on, as professionals, we're wearing too many hats. I mean, we're going to these conferences and we're trying to be, orthopedist or physical therapist or, whatever else you want to throw in there. Talk a little bit about, how, centering back in on strength and conditioning and just more of a blue collar mentality,
Well, we've got to remember that there are certain things that actually really matter, right? And that's, obviously the relationships and all those things are a specific byproduct of it, but our job is to make these kids better at sports. Our job is to make them stronger, faster, more explosive, able to display their skills longer, all of those things. I mean, obviously, we're not going to sit here and bring a kid in the weight room and do things that are going to hurt them. I don't know if we need to sit here and continually repeat that, the main goal of our program is not to hurt people in the weight room. No
it's a given. It's a given.
Right. Yeah, if that was all we were trying to do, then, my guys would be happier than anything if we just came in here, turned the lights off, and let them take a nap. There has to be that sense of accomplishment. They need to be able to see that they're getting better and they're getting faster in these things. They need to know what it's like to work a bit. I'm not saying that we have to sit here and go through hour-and-a-half long squat marathons, or that we need to sit out here and push the prowler until our legs are about to fall off and there's puke all over the hall. But I'm saying that there is times where we need to push these kids to understand that they've got different levels that they can go to, and that even a warm-up should be challenging. A warm-up, you're supposed to be moving.
Right.
You're supposed to be ready to go. It's almost turning into we need to lay down and do our breathing exercises and roll around on a tube, and then let's go try to squat. I'm not putting 500 pounds at my back after I did that.
Right.
Hell no. There ain't no way I'm going to have one of my guys do it. What are we doing to actually improve performance? Within the constraints of common sense,
mm-hmm.
It's something that I think that we run away from. And I think that we mask some of those things at times with stuff that doesn't necessarily matter. And it's easy to mask them with wins.
Sure, absolutely.
Which is tricky, because at the end of the day, that's all anybody really cares about, is whether you win or not. Nobody, You know, you look at the message boards all the time. You know, they talk about, oh, this basketball team. They talk about, oh, how much they bench. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Well, you're right. Like, who cares?
Right.
Who cares if we have 3 guys or 13 guys on our team to bench press 300 pounds? If we can't get a rebound, who cares?
That's right.
You can't make a jump shot, but you squat 600 pounds. Who cares? You know, if you're really strong, but you blow at basketball, who cares?
Right.
But I think there are things that we can improve. We can improve our ability to cut, change direction. We can be faster. We can be quicker. We can jump higher. We can make them foundationally stronger so that they're able to handle the rigors of the season. We can build their aerobic base so they can recover between bouts. We can build capacities and powers of the other energy systems so they can display them more often.
Sure.
And none of that is easy. You know, we were doing high resistance bike work this morning. You know, where you're taking, you just flip your feet on Kaiser bikes, max resistance. It's a killer. You know, when you try to keep your heart rate up at 160 and you think of that number and you're like, well, that's not that high. But at the end of the 2 sets, it was like, this is the second week, so we're at like 12 or 15 minutes. I mean, like, the guys needed to wipe off the bikes before they wiped down the bikes. That's it at 6:30 in the morning. So, I mean, it's 95 here today,
right.
but it's not that hot in the morning.
Right.
You know, so it's like, it's aerobic training, but it's not like aerobic training. You know, it's not yoga pants and a cute shirt running around.
So kind of with that then, you know, so let's take specifically basketball. You know, what are you thinking, you know, and this is just, again, having a real conversation. What are people doing well, you know, and what are people just totally missing the boat on?
What are we doing well? I think right now basketball players are bigger, and stronger, and more athletic than they have ever been. I mean, there are some freak shows out there. Some absolute freak shows. Like guys that I can honestly tell you that in the last 6 years, there's not been at least 3 teams that we've played where I haven't seen a guy that I've been like, that dude should be playing football.
Right.
So there's some strong, big dudes. I think, though, that we're a little, in basketball, complacent to go to one of 2 far ends of the spectrum. And I think that we see that everywhere with what we do.
Right.
Where we're either crazy, psychotic, we're going to do all this stuff hard, fast, more, and we're going to make them tough and just hope they survive. Or it's, we're going to do a lot of recovery, recoup, regen, prehab.
Right.
And I think that, like with most things, the answer's in the middle. You know? I think that another thing, at some point, someone said, you don't need to jump basketball players because they jump a lot in practice. I don't know why they said that, but our guys don't jump that much in practice. I don't know what other practices are like. I don't go to other people's practices. A lot of other practices you can't even get near the front door for. We jump all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we do multi-directional jumps. We do plyos in multiple directions. We do tons of what Verkhoshansky's called the running exercises. You know, power skips, height and distance, broad jumps, bounds, bouncy runs, springy runs, 45-degree bounces, both extensive and intensive, because it's a great way to improve power and speed and your ability to change direction. The one thing we don't do a lot of is like actually running in the off season. We may do I may come back later again because I'm old, short, and fat, and run at night. And if the kids want to show up and run some tempos with me at 8:30, and I'm just running up and down the turf, that's fine. I hope you can run faster than me. Help us if you don't. But I think that it's that. I think if I had to say, looking around, now there's some dudes that do basketball that are geniuses, that are amazing. Like I got to spend 2 days with Eric Helland, who was at Wisconsin now, who was with the Bulls. You want to talk about a guy that trains kids. I mean, he trains guys. And he was in the league. He's won 6 NBA championships. 6 NBA championships. And he trains cats.
Right.
Like, they get after it. So, I mean, again, I'm not going to try to tell another grown man how to do his job. But I'm just saying that, I don't think, especially now that we practice so much, I don't know if the is the right answer,
Right.
but I'm really sure that the coddling, it's okay, probably isn't either.
Do you think, with and you're a guy that has, GymAware and Catapult and Omega Wave and all these different technologies. Do you think this is? I mean, where do you lie on this? Is it BS? Is it? I mean, is it hindering us? Is it making us coddle people too much? The challenge I always face, and you hear people talk and things along those lines, and they haven't used it and not used it different places. Is that you sit there and it's like, all right, if a kid comes in with a poor HRV, that it's because they're not living right. It doesn't change the fact that we got to get some work done. You know what I mean? It doesn't change. I mean, I'm not going to reward him for his freaking mistake. So how do you, I guess the first part of the question would be, what's your thoughts on the technology altogether? Second part is, okay, when the technology is not saying what you want it to say, how are you addressing that with the kids?
Well, I think the biggest thing that people need to understand when it comes to technology is that it's not a deity. Like, none of these things are a god. And we don't have the catapult yet. I'm trying. And that's a great, I'll tell you that story off camera. But you'll shake your head, bud. But I think that they're very important. But you have to remember, I think Carl Valley put it on Twitter, like, within the last week. It was something like, so many people are monitoring, like, bad training. It's like if you're not getting the kids better to begin with, if you're not doing things to get them better, then what are you doing?
Agreed.
Like slowing them down.
Agreed.
What do we do when we get things that we don't like? I think that what's most important is to understand where the stress is coming from. So with that being said, what we're working to do now this year is to make sure that our communication system that we have for this team from the basketball office has their papers, midterm, and final schedule so that we know when they're coming into high academic stress periods. And if it's not a high academic stress period and they're showing signs of stress, we can ask them what's going on.
Right.
And if the answer is either deemed to be garbage or not what we would want to hear, but they're honest about it,
yeah,
it was a great weekend. Suck it up, man.
Yep.
You made that choice.
If you're gonna hoot with the Owls, you got to soar with the Eagles, right?
No doubt, man. No doubt about it. And what I think that we've done pretty well with is understanding, how we're going to, what our plans are. What are our 4 levels coming in for the day, and then saying, well, you know what? Let's see how they go. And if things are really good on a kid that's supposed to be bad, maybe you let them go. It's just a matter of understanding that you might have to pay that cost back another time. It's not like there's a day that you just have to be like, oh my gosh, stop the presses. Because at the end of the day, if they show up and they're like red, whatever you want to refer to it as, and it's a game day, and it's my starting point guard,
We're rolling.
no one gives 2 shits.
Right.
Like, let's go, kid. Bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it is. And it's just, are there days, and we also look at it, so what do you need, right? So, if you were one of my guys, you'd be like, all right, so today was our high intensive aerobic day. But let's say you're one of our fitness freaks. Well, yesterday maybe you weren't that great coming in, readiness-wise.
Right.
But we know that you need to be stronger or more explosive or whatever it may be. So yesterday might be the day we let you go, and today might be the day we back you down.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're a guy that already can handle 40 minutes and just, jump in the shower, walk back out, and you're ready to go again, why am I going to hold back on the stuff that's going to make you a better player for the stuff that you're already good at?
Right.
That just doesn't make any sense.
So kind of, along those lines, then it's because you're obviously, you have a passion, for training, you have a passion for kids, you have, you do this for more than just, just to go out there and get wins and losses or get money, obviously. What's it mean to you to be a strength coach? I mean, we talked, kind of talked earlier about we're trying to do too many things. I mean, the reason I'm damn proud that I'm a strength coach. What's it mean to Jay DeMayo to be a strength coach?
Oh man, it's an ever evolving position to be in that allows you to consistently look at yourself in the mirror and find out what more you could be doing to better the individuals that you work for. And those individuals range from your head coach to your director to your student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one person that has to have the thickest skin and the toughest backbone, but be the most pliable at the same time, because at the end of the day, you are in a completely supportive role that you have to be willing to alter what you're doing and alter your day for someone else,
mm-hmm.
and almost at a moment's notice. And it's something that, and Mark said it awesome, man. Like, people, like you said, man, there's not a lot of money in the gigs, but it's like that. It was like a year and a half ago, Mark posted on Elite. It was like, if you want to be a strength coach, you better not like sleep. You better not want to stay in the same place long. You better not worry about money and all of those things. And it's all that. But what you gotta like doing is challenging yourself and challenging people and having a desire to make people better, even when they don't want to be better.
Right.
And don't ever be ready for credit, man. Always be the guy. I like being the guy at the end of the bench, sitting on the stool, who walks out. What people know me for here is I'm the butt smack guy. I put my stool down, and the first guy's by, high five, smack him on the ass. Let's go. Good job. They're like, oh yeah, you're Jay. You're the butt smack guy. I mean, it's as weird as that is. But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I hear you, bro. I hear you.
Like, because here's the thing, man. We're in so many situations where we beat kids down, where we've got to get in them. We've got to be the disciplinarians more times than not, and we don't want to do that.
Right.
So you got to be the first one there, that when they're doing something good, man, and it's like game time, and they're doing their thing, you got to be the one that's there to let them know. They've got to know that you got their back no matter what.
No,
they're going to tell you to go pound salt in those situations.
Absolutely. I tell our staff all the time that we have to be their biggest advocate. That's our job. Okay. That means protecting them. That means pushing them. That means demanding more of them than what they demand of themselves. And all those examples. But I kind of preface this question though with that question, in that you're obviously a passionate guy. You're obviously a guy that I would imagine has a temper when things aren't going well.
No.
What happens? And this goes back to the Tommy Moffitt quote. It's like 90% of the guys you deal with don't give a shit about training. That's not why they're there. That's not what they love to do. And so obviously that's going to come to a head at multiple times, especially with a guy that's as passionate about training as you are. So when that guy comes in and says, basically, F you, I don't feel like doing this today, or they do it with their actions and they come in with bad HRVs, or you probably spend so much time educating them on how to recover and sleep and eat, and yet they're basically saying F you and doing the complete opposite when they come in. What motivates you to keep doing it? How do you go, how do you stop yourself from freaking throwing a plate at the kid's head, Because I've thrown the plates. The reason why I've asked.
No, yeah, well, that's I have to. He was far enough away. He was safe, but that was a long time ago. But no, that's an awesome question. How we really look at it, and I actually stole this from my assistant, and it really has changed how I look at things, is they need to know that you're disappointed. They need to know that they're wasting time. And of course, if you have guys that back you, like your upperclassmen, and then they take care of all of it for you. But just telling them, being like, hey man, you know what? You got people here that are going to help you. And I'm one of them. And I'm here to do everything I can, whenever I can, to make you better, to get you paid. If you don't want my help,
Right.
You know what? But when you're ready to get help and you're ready to go, you let me know, because I'll still be here.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had our fair share of headbutts. We've had our fair share of get outs, and punish the group before. But now it's very. Right now, I'm really lucky. I got a 5th-year senior kid who is, he's a great kid, and he's a really good leader. And if there's a problem, I just look at him. I don't even have to say it. I'm just like, go. And he's like, I got it, and it's done. But in the past, there has been, and it makes it hard, man. It makes it hard walking away. I think it's harder leaving that day than it is coming back the next day.
Absolutely, especially when you've been there for 13, 14 hours, and for them, for them.
Yeah.
I think, we talk about it on the show, a handful of times, but obviously you have to find what motivates them. You have to find their why, and once you identify what their why is, you can determine the how and the what, and I think, going back, and I know you do this, it's why I bring it up, is we all spend, you spell love, Time, right? You spell, what you love, you'll spend time on. And, with coaches, I think when we go back and kind of bring this thing all full circle here, when we talked about, all the different hats, well, I could give 2 craps about what's going on in the training room or in the, wherever else. I'm going to make sure that I'm trying to wear as many hats as I can that's going to help this kid be the best man, the best woman, whatever that they can possibly be. In my recruiting pitches, I talk about, my job is to help them become better husbands, better fathers, better citizens. If I can do those things right there and they have talent and we're coach them, we're going to win some ball games, And so I pour myself into that piece of it. And by being a part of their life and talking to them about being there as a part of their life after all this is said and done, and then backing that up with the time investment, not just in the strength, but in these other areas, and then usually you can, once you determine their why, you can usually demand a little bit more out of them.
Oh, no doubt.
I think that, and I know you do that. I know that's, I think as coaches, the great strength coaches, I think sometimes, you said it early on with, I did that when I was younger, and I've gotten, it leads, we've gotten wiser now, right, through the years. Where do you see this profession going? I think that's probably we're both getting up there in terms of how many years in and all those types of things. We're freaking dinosaurs in this profession, right? We've been in it for a while. Where do you see the profession going? Is it going towards this technology, freaking sports science route? Is it going towards this corrective exercise, ATC type of route? Or is it, how do the guys like, you and me that love training, that freaking, that grunt and yell and fart and everything? Where's our place in the future of strength and conditioning?
I think us guys that still want to sit down at the end of the day Friday and have a beer are still going to have a spot, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
I do. I think that this athlete-centered model that places are starting to build more upon, like what they're doing in Iowa, is the way it's going to go. Now, I don't think that that's going to do anything to take away from what we do. I think it's going to allow us to start to become more of what we are. What I mean by that is I think it's going to allow us to focus in again as to what our role is for that kid. Now, is everyone involved in the student athlete? Of course. Sports med, sports psych, nutrition, academics, and of course the sport coach, but then with us being just doing what we do. Now, obviously there's still the therapeutic stuff where, if a kid has a spondy, you're probably not squatting them. I'm not saying that we're going to just treat everyone like, they're puros demas or whatever, but I think the future with someone directing might be the wrong word, but directing it, running all that technology and looking at things and just Like when people think when you get these technology things, is it's all of a sudden it's like, okay, well you can't do X, Y, and Z with this kid, and you can't do QRNS with him, and Z is definitely out with Joe over there. I mean, really, we give our coaches a little report that has a bunch of different squares in it that are usually yellow and green, and if there's a red one, that means we might want to talk about something.
Right.
If you don't want to talk about it, who cares? Just so you know. You know, like this is out of whack for this guy. What does it mean? It could mean a bunch of things. But I don't think it's ever going to be. I don't think we're ever going to run completely to the left and be PT, and I don't think we're ever going to run completely to the right and just
push up our glasses.
Or boot camp, you run them into the ground. I think we're going to be back to strength and conditioning coaches building performance and being held to identify what we're doing to build that performance within our piece of that athlete-centered model.
Sure. No, I like that. I like that a lot. Well, buddy, this has been fun, man. We end the show with some resources here. So give me a quote that you either live by or one that you have plastered up.
Excuses are the nails that build the house of failure. My ninth grade global studies teacher, Dave Theron, who was the manager of our hockey team, used to say that to us. He also used to tell us every team from upstate New York and Canada was full of Russians. Back in the late 80s, early 90s. So I mean, it was a different time.
I love it. I love it. What about... I say that all the time. I call whoever it is communist. That's awesome. What about a young strength coach walks in the door? You're interviewing for one of your assistant spots. Give me not the PC, what's your strengths and weaknesses question, but give me a question that you're going to try to get to the root of what the person's all about.
I think that the two that I like are why here and why me, and then I want to know their best story about the person that they worked with.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like that.
Well, and that's especially because, most of us know the guys that they work for anyway.
Yeah.
So, it's usually something pretty good.
No doubt. Well, that's I just had that conversation with our interns today that, I asked for 3 references on every resume, assuming that they have more than 3 people that they could reference. And then I look for the one person that they didn't reference, and I call that person.
Yeah.
I make sure to do that. What about give me a book, app, and website recommendation?
Book. I'd be remiss if I didn't say anything from Dr. Yes's Build a Better Athlete, the 1x20 we've developed. Anything from UAC are always huge. An app. Obviously on MegaWave we use it every day. GymAware we use almost every day. But honestly, probably the best invention and the thing that has changed my life as a coach the most is Dropbox, man. I have my life right there.
You and me both.
It's the greatest thing ever. It's like $100 for what is it? I don't even know how big the data storage is now. But I've got every seminar lecture we've ever had here. I've got, every book.
Yep.
That I've ever bought here. It's awesome. Dropbox is it's the deal, man.
Dropbox is great. MediaFire is another one. If you ever check that, it's a cheaper Dropbox, but it works the same. Those are I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. What about we'll end with this one. What's the best piece of coaching advice you've ever received?
Can I give you 2?
Yeah, absolutely.
Our academic guy is an amazing human being, very grounded in his faith. He's actually taking care of his mother now, who just broke her femur. But he always says, whenever I get rattled, which is any day that ends in the letter Y, he says, Coach, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And you kind of got to know that. At the end of the day, if they're not winning, that's all that matters. If they are winning, that's all that matters. You can do things that help. You can do things to influence it one way or another, obviously. But at the end of the day, Nobody's going to sit there and say, well, you know what? They didn't squat enough this offseason. That's why we stunk.
Yeah.
You know, and it kind of has grounded me in a bit with that. And the other one I mentioned from Hank, I said, give them what they need, not what they can handle. It's along the same lines. Like Joseph always says, you wouldn't treat a cold. You wouldn't give somebody chemo for a cold.
Right.
You know, dose them right. Because, you know, another one, great one that Hank says is, all roads lead to Rome, but not everybody gets there.
Yep.
You know, and it's take a step back, look at your kids, train them hard enough, don't kill them.
Absolutely.
Unless they need it.
I'm with you, man. Well, brother, it's been fun, man. I'm glad we reshot this, and if there's not freaking about 1 million nuggets that you took from this, you must not be breathing. But I appreciate the work you do. You have a great conference. Really quick, tell about the conference.
Yeah, July 16th and 17th down here in the Central Virginia Sport Performance Seminar. We've got a really awesome lineup. A lot of coaches, some guys that do the monitoring stuff. You know, with Andrew Althoff at Baylor. I mean, the model they have there is unbelievable.
You've done a great job.
Eric Cora, who you just had on the show. Landon Evans, Cal Dietz, Jim Snyder from Wisconsin. Steve Magnus, who's the Science of Running guy. He wrote the book on it, literally. Dr. Gentry from Virginia Tech. Oh, who am I forgetting? Gosh. Oh, Dr. Ben Peterson and Dr. Brian Mann.
Yep.
It's going to be really awesome. And, you know, we try to make it affordable. We have a housing deal with it, too, that includes... We just got the first local brewery to sponsor one night. We've got another local brewery we're working on.
That's the reason enough to do it right there, right?
Yeah. I mean, $150 for housing, food, you know, a couple soda pops. I mean, $150 is a night in the Marriott.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
Hopefully we see people here, man. It's going to be a blast. It's a really nice campus to come check out.
Absolutely. Well, I think, like I said, man, the way you're going about your business and the amount of effort you put in to develop your kids, and that's just it. I mean, we're talking about conferences that you're going to and, listening to, going to and speaking at just so you can go learn. You're bringing people in so you can learn. I mean, that's not stuff that just, sometimes we take that for granted, but that's stuff that's a lot of time and a lot of investment into your players to try to make them the best that you possibly can. And it's an example, man. I appreciate it, and I know others do as well. So thanks for what you do for the profession. Thanks for how you're doing it, man, and coming on the show.
Hey, man, thank you for doing all this, man. I do it 1 weekend a year. You do it 52 weeks a year, man, and it's this is a huge resource that I hope more and more people subscribe and take advantage of, because there's gems in the vault you got here, man. It's really awesome.
And I appreciate that, buddy. Thanks a lot, man.
That's it for this episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk. Thanks to this week's guest as well as our sponsors for bringing this episode to you for free. Make sure to check out ronmckeefery.com, where you can join our mailing list, find the show notes, including all the links and resources mentioned, and information about Coach McKeefery's other products. While you are there, please join Coach McKeefery in the comments section thanking our guest for sharing. If you haven't subscribed to Iron Game Chalk Talk on YouTube or iTunes yet, make sure to do so. Comments, ratings, and reviews are always welcome. Coach McKeefery can be found on Twitter at @RMcKeefery, on Facebook and YouTube at /Ron.McKeefery. That's it for this week. Be sure to check back next week for another great episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk.